All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Friday. Happy Friday to everyone out there. November 8th. We got a 13-game NBA slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that I like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye on the pinned comment. We're going to have a link to the Guy Boston Sports website for all of the final plays. Still completely free, but like we did yesterday, those picks will be just one click further. We talked about it yesterday, explained why we're doing it, just trying to keep as much control as we can, and it is what it is right now. So hopefully you guys don't mind that. Honestly, I kind of like it because, like I said, we can kind of control where that leads to versus leaving it right here. But nonetheless, all of those final plays will be on the Guy Boston Sports site for free for you guys to see if you do want to check those out. In terms of yesterday, we'll take it a mini sweep. We're not bringing out the money shoot or anything like that, but a 2-0 night. 2 half-unit plays. Nikola Vucevic over 16.5 points. That cashes with ease. I think he had like 13 or 15 at halftime. And then we had the same game parlay in that game. We took an alternate over 218.5. That's smacked. And then Vucevic 12-plus points. A little bit on the juicy side, but nonetheless, we'll take the cha-ching again, as we also went 2-0 in our Thursday night football play. So you know what? Let's pump in some damn crowd noise. And speaking of that, how about the ride of the day from 2? Trendy. The soundboard is getting abused this morning here. He had Victor Wembanyama over 5.5 steals plus blocks. How many did he end up finishing with? Let's see if we can find that really quick. Victor Wembanyama, 4 steals, 3 blocks. Absolutely crazy, but you know what? It cashes for plus 128. Shout out to True Trendy. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it is very simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day in the comments with your favorite play of the day. I jump on board with one person's play each and every day, giving you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. I also shout you out over on my X. If you want to follow me there, it's at FGuyBoston. Actually just popped up right now. That's good to see. So go ahead and follow me there. We're also giving you more information on what's going on with our old channel and this channel over there as well. So make sure to follow me. But if you win, we continue to ride with your plays. So looking forward to seeing what Too Trendy rocks with today. But if you lose, we do have to talk about it. But you still get the shout out. You might have to face the womp womp on the soundboard, but it's still a really cool thing we do. So get those hashtag ride of the days in the comments. And what do you say we jump into today's slate? Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're facing adversity here on the social medias, but you know what? We're still providing some great content and what has been recently great picks. We can't always promise that whatsoever because I'm a dummy with a camera and a microphone, but you know what? We make the content work and at least we can entertain. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's go ahead and dive into game number 1 here. We have Detroit hosting Atlanta. Detroit just 1.5 point favorites at home, which is kind of a fishy line to me. That total's at 226.5. I'm not exactly sure why Detroit are favorites. You know, Jalen Duren is listed as a game-time decision. Thompson's out. On the Atlanta side of things, yes, they're dealing with some injuries as well, but they still have Trae Young, Jalen Johnson, Clint Capella. I still think that there is some of their main pieces in that starting lineup. Now, can we give credit to the Detroit backcourt, you know, with Cunningham, Ivy, and then even throw in Hardaway and yeah, they're better than they were last year, but to me, this is still a spot in which Atlanta may have some momentum with a nice win over the Knicks a couple days ago. Detroit coming off of a loss to Charlotte. It smells like a trap. It might taste like a trap, but I'm still going to lean towards Atlanta for the plus money here. In terms of the total, if I think Atlanta is going to take this one, I honestly think that they'll push the pace. They're the 3rd fastest pace in the season so far, ranked. So I think this one goes up and over 226, but I think, you know, I want to make sure I say that because I'm not exactly sure. This Detroit team has had some good defensive games, and Atlanta isn't the most efficient offense. You know what I mean? So I could see a low-scoring game, but if Atlanta wins this one, I think that they push the pace. One other reason why I do like the idea of, Atlanta stopping Detroit is that they've been pretty good at preventing points in the paint. Now Jalen Duren isn't out, and Detroit already likes to shoot from the paint plenty. Atlanta's weakness has been their 3-point line guarding, and we don't see too many threes from Detroit, you know what I mean? So I don't necessarily think it's all that bad of a spot, but on that note of the 3-point line and everything, that in terms of player props here, I don't mind Tim Hardaway Jr. over 2.5 3-pointers made. He's done it in all but 2 games so far this season, and those are 2 games in which one, he didn't play that many minutes, and the other one, he just shot terribly from the field, 1 of 5. So if he gets the minutes, which this is a 1-point spread, I think he should have the minutes. Tim Hardaway, even last year when he did play, 30 plus minutes, which is something right around his average here, 80% of his games he cashed in, which is really, really cool, right? So, again, he's been playing 29.3 minutes. If he gets the minutes, I like him over 2.5 threes. And I'm also looking at Jaden Ivey over 1.5. He's hit it out of his 8 games here. So the game number 1 he doesn't hit, but in his 8, he's hit in 6 of his 8. He's also shooting the ball plenty in some specific times. And I think that it's going to come when he's going up against teams that are a little weak again in the perimeter, which the Hawks are. So Jaden Ivey and Tim Hardaway Jr., like both of them to potentially hit their threes, but obviously keep an eye on the final plays on the Guy Boston Sports site. We'll have all that in there. And if you guys are looking for the tool I just showed, that'll be in there as well. It is called Outlier. You get a 7-day trial when you use our link. So that'll be on the Guy Boston Sports site right with the picks as well if you do want to try it. It's my favorite research tool out there, bar none. All right, next up, Orlando taking on the Pelicans. This is not one that I'm putting too much effort into or caring too much about today. Orlando's obviously banged up. No Banchero and Wendell Carter Jr. still out now. On the New Orleans side of things, DeJounte Murray, CJ McCollum, Herb Jones, Hawkins, Trey Murphy is listed as a game-time decision, and now even Zion listed as a game-time decision as well, like he was last game. So this is kind of just an injury-riddled game. My eyes hurt trying to read it, especially with like the importance. Like we literally have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have like 7 starters injured in this game, which is crazy. So in this spot, I'd probably just look at the home team, but again, it's not one that I care about all that much. Orlando is definitely better defensively, even without Banchero and Wendell Carter. I don't really know how this Pelicans team, I mean, DeJounte Murray getting injured early in the year definitely threw a wrench in, and then CJ and Herb, like, it just, they're in disarray right now. So Orlando is my side here. Don't think I'm going to roll with it myself, so I wouldn't expect that on the site. In terms of a total, it's at 213. Both of these teams have struggled defensively, but Orlando still is a good defense. But that total seems a little bit too low, doesn't it? But I don't necessarily want to trust New Orleans, especially if Zion doesn't play against this Orlando defense. So the weird way I might look at this is say, okay, let's look at a team that obviously is really banged up, but we can look at Orlando's team total over. Right now you can get it for over 108 for minus 145. Like, that may be a look, but again, who is scoring for them? Is it going to be just Wagner and Suggs? Pope's there too. Like, it's not exactly the best spot, but it might be the only spot I look at. And with the injuries in mind, I'm not all that interested in taking peeks at player props and whatnot in this one because rotations could be a mess. But hope you guys understand this is just one of the more messy games on the slate. With a 13-game slate, why force, many predictions or picks in a spot like this? Real quick, guys, Underdog has a 0.5 points Kevin Durant square for tonight. We'll have a link on the Guy Boston Sports site and in the pinned comment if you do want to check it out. You also get a sign-up bonus as well. But Kevin Durant, 0.5 points, that is just one bucket. Go ahead and take advantage of this. Add it into your entry, and you can boost that multiplier. So go check it out, guys. That link, again, is going to be in the pinned comment, as well as we'll have this on the Guy Boston Sports site with the final plays. But get that Kevin Durant 0.5 square from Underdog. It is for tonight only and for new customers. So go ahead and check it out. Next up, we have Charlotte taking on Indiana right now. Charlotte getting 7 at home. That total's way up there to 35. I don't really see an easy path to Charlotte here. You could make the argument they're the better defensive team, but I wouldn't really say that. These are pretty two even teams, but Indiana plays a little bit faster, so their opponent points per game looks, worse. But from an efficiency perspective, you have the 24th ranked team in Indiana, 23rd in Charlotte, so I do think that they're fairly similar. Assist-to-turnover ratio, Charlotte is way, way, way behind Indiana. I think where this game probably gets distinguished is the fact that what we're looking at, I guess, in the paint and kind of where teams like to score from. So Indiana shoots from the paint a fair amount. They're definitely, shoot more as they get closer to the hoop. Only the second most above the break 3 so far this year, but yet they're a little closer to middle of the pack or above in terms of restricted area scoring. And Charlotte has not been all that great in terms of points in the paint allowed. They've been decent, I guess, at covering the perimeter, but overall, I just don't think Indiana's going to choose and elect to try and score from the perimeter, right? So if they take it into the paint, they should be able to pull away in this one. One thing I also will mention is that Charlotte likes to score from 3. above the break three, second highest frequency so far this season. Even the corner three, they're in the top 10. Well, Indiana, not all that bad at preventing that. Like, their perimeter defense has not been all that terrible. Ninth fewest points per game from the three-point line. So, yeah, I think that I do look at Indiana in this spot. We also have some injuries to note. Miller is a game-time decision, but he's listed as probable. Grant Williams listed as a game-time decision, but probable. And same thing with Nembhard. So I guess that's worth keeping in mind. But no Miles Bridges for Charlotte, no Richards, no Williams. So there are some, pieces that are a pretty big deal. So I think Indiana minus the points is probably the look. Total wise, it seems a little bit too high for me. Neither one of these teams are all that efficient. Now, Indiana is getting there, but to me, if I do look at a total, it's probably Indiana team total, but it's still going to be super, super high. So I don't think we touch the total. From a player prop perspective, I don't mind looking at Pascal Siakam over in points. Now, I wish it was at like 20.5 or something like that, but 22.5, it's one more, actually could be two more for him. Buckets more to cash that three differential points of where I want it, but I still do think that he's going to be able to get into the paint and score, and then if he's having trouble getting to the paint, Charlotte struggles against the mid-range, and we know that Pascal likes to shoot from the mid-range as well. He leads the team in mid-range field goal attempts per game, so could be a good look for him. I'm not fully sold on it, so you might hear me say that and think, oh, green lights, that all sounds good. That line is still a little bit too high in my opinion, so just take that for what it's worth. All right, Cleveland taking on Golden State. What a good game this has a chance to be. We do have a couple injuries in this one. Dean Wade listed as a game-time decision. Same thing with Draymond and Podziemski as well as Melton. So a couple, I guess, tertiary pieces also listed as game-time decisions as well. You have the undefeated Cavs here at home. They're 8-1 against the spread, going up against Golden State, who just, a few days ago coming off of a win against Boston, which is no easy feat in Boston. So this is an interesting one here. I will say I can see a path to either side. And honestly, if you're an NBA fan, or I would say an educated NBA fan, you'd be crazy to tell someone that they're crazy for thinking differently than you in this spot. This is a very good defensive Golden State team, and they're still so efficient from the offensive end. But the Cavs, you can say the exact same thing. Now, where I do think I make my decision is the fact that the Cavs are at home. That's probably why I lean towards them, but I would not be surprised if Golden State even wins this game outright. My favorite spot here might be in under. Like, I think that everyone's thinking, oh my God, Donovan Mitchell, Garland, Mobley, and then like Steph. And it's like, well, these are two very good defensive teams, and in fact, you have Golden State, who is absolutely incredible at defending the perimeter and the rim, and you have Cleveland, who's really good at defending the rim. They do have their struggles, I guess, to some degree. Again, they're almost middle of the pack, maybe even a little bit better than middle of the pack against the three. So it's like both of the spots in which these two teams should want to score, right? Restricted area and three, and not much in between. Both teams are really good defensively there. So 231 seems like it's a little bit too high. I want to keep an eye on it because I do think that we might be able to snag this at like a 232 or something, 232 and a half at some point, because I would imagine a lot of people are like, hey, like let's go ahead and look at the over because we have such a star-studded team and both these teams are scoring so many points. It's like, yeah, they definitely are scoring so many points. I'm not saying that they're not, but to me, these defenses are being slept on in this matchup. So I'm taking a peek at an under. And then from a player prop perspective, I really want to find player props here, but unfortunately, I'm struggling. I'm dry as of late last night and this morning in this game because everything I look at, it's like, well, okay, Steph, the Cavs, what if he lights them up from deep? Well, one, they're good defensively, and two, his line's going to be too high, so it's like I don't want to take a Steph under because he's so good, but it's hard to justify an over. Same thing with the guys in the cast and crew on the Cavs side. So net probably positive in this one is that we don't touch player props because it's a tough one. I get it if you come from a fandom perspective and you want to root for a guy in this game, that makes sense. But for me to find some sort of an edge or something, I'm just really struggling. So I think the under may be the move here. And maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe this is going to be like a 130 to 120 game because the teams are so good. But I guess I'm putting a lot of trust in the defense. So definitely has a chance to be a final play. All right, Knicks taking on Milwaukee. This is an interesting one because the Knicks are at home. I do think that they're the better defensive team and probably the better offensive team, but I don't even know if I'd stand by the defensive part, but it's just Milwaukee has been so up and down. Milwaukee is on obviously a back-to-back here as they get a win against Utah yesterday, but their guys definitely did play a decent amount of minutes. We already talked about the Knicks last game. That was the Hawks beating them in a good one. But like I mentioned, Milwaukee, Giannis played over 30 minutes. Lillard played nearly 40. Lopez played 33. So these guys could be tired. But at the same time, don't we think, or maybe I'm the crazy or dumb one in the room, don't we think 7 points is a hell of a lot to lay as the Knicks when you're a 3-4 team, 1-1 at home, 3-4 against the spread? I know Milwaukee has had their struggles this year for certain, but I don't think that 7 is the right number here. So Milwaukee's going to be the side that I'm on. Total at 226.5. If Milwaukee gets running, I think that they might get some easy buckets, especially in the paint. This is a Knicks team that has struggled in the paint so far this year. At home so far this year, second most points per game allowed. On the season, the 8th most points per game. They're allowing nearly 72% field goal percentage success rate there down low in the restricted area. Have you ever heard of a guy named Giannis? And even behind Giannis, you ever heard of a guy named Damian Lillard? Both those guys do like to get to the hoop, so I could see this being some easy bucket situations here for the Bucks. So I think I'm going to lean towards Milwaukee team total, I guess, instead of anything else. Like, I don't know if the Knicks slow things down, then we could be in trouble because they are one of the slowest, if not the slowest, actually, via pace team in the league, right? So I get that side of it, but I just think Milwaukee may have some offensive success tonight, given the fact that the Knicks can't stop a nosebleed at the rim, and the Bucks are going to try to get to the rim if they know that, because they have a couple of guys, Giannis being the biggest one here, that is going to just consistently get to the rim. So maybe we look at like a team total for Milwaukee over 106.5 or over 107.5. That could be something that I'm convinced of. Again, my one concern and call for concern would be, well, they're on a back-to-back. Guys played a lot of minutes last night. Maybe that's why this number is where it is, but overall, I just don't see it. In terms of a player prop, I don't mind a peek here at Giannis over 48.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He's done it 2 straight games against the Knicks. This year, he's now done it in 3 straight games. He's done it in 4 of the 7. What I would say is back-to-back worries me a little bit. Like last night, he played 30 minutes, like I said, but it looks like maybe because they started to blow out Utah, he was able to get some rest and didn't play. Like, that was the lowest amount of minutes he's played all year. But he is banged up as well, right? Is he still listed on the injury report? No, just Chris Middleton. So I guess that's a good news, but he had been banged up. I like Giannis here, but maybe we look at his first half. But even you look at his first half points, rebounds, and assists, it looks good this season, right? He's crushed it. Look at against the Knicks. Not all that great. So that would be the way that we can kind of mitigate any blowout potential or, back-to-back potential. But to me, I still do like his overall. I think that he has a strong chance to get it going here against the Knicks. And that's a guy that if he gets going, I don't think he's going to say, hey, coach, take me out. You know what I mean? He's going to keep getting to the hoop, keep getting fouled, all that type of stuff. So I like that look. But Milwaukee team total, definitely something that I'm considering here. And then again, that +7 just seems like it's too much. I don't know. Maybe, like I said, I'm maybe on the dummy here. Let me know what you guys are rolling in the comments. All right, Dallas taking on Phoenix here. Dallas 3-point faves at home. That total up there at 230.5. We'll talk about that in just a second here. And what the heck is going on? I got like horns coming out the side of my head with this hat today. But hey, we're rolling with it. Dallas obviously having a good year. So is Phoenix. Phoenix is 7-1, which is obviously really, really impressive. They're 2-1 on the road. Dallas is 4-2 at home. Coming off of a big win against Chicago a couple days ago. Phoenix coming off of a decent win against Miami. We cashed their team total under there, right? I do think I like Dallas in this spot, and I'll tell you why. Both these teams have been fairly good defensively. I think Dallas is a lot better now. I will mention PJ Washington's out. That's obviously a knock on them, right? Like, we can't necessarily ignore that. Lively's out as well. Exum's out. So, yes, there are some injuries that probably honestly directly impact the defensive end, but I still do think they're the better defensive team. And one thing I will say is that Dallas's only so far this year, only defensive weakness I would say has been in the paint, at the rim, that type of a thing. And they haven't been terrible at it, but in terms of points per game allowed in the paint, they're more middle of the pack. Phoenix is like it's like they're allergic to scoring or trying to score at the rim. They are ranked dead last this season in restricted area field goal attempts per game. So to me, that's a big, green flag to look at Dallas here. So I like Dallas. It's not that big of a number. I think I've seen some 2.5s out there. But again, just like that big game with Golden State and Cleveland, I think I also really like an under here. Like these are not bad defensive teams, and we're so early in the year that I feel like it's bait to look at 2 really good teams like this with star-studded casts and say, hey, we like the over. Like I think that people are not afraid to, but they look at really good games and some like primetime-esque type games, and it's like, oh, there's going to be a lot of points. It's like, yeah, there'll be really good basketball and probably a lot of points, but not a lot of points. I mean, 230.5, still a lot. So I could see like a Dallas win of, I don't know, 112, 108, right? Covering this number, but that total ends at 220, which is way lower than 230. So that's kind of what I'm thinking here. In terms of player props, very, very similar to what I just mentioned with the Warriors and Cavs. This is a game in which I think a lot of people are expecting points, so I think we have some inflated lines. Yet I'm thinking this is an under type spot, so I don't necessarily want to play unders, because guys are so good. You take a Luka under, it's like, well, he's still Luka. He can go off for 100. But if you take overs, I think they're facing some really good defense. So I do struggle a little bit with that. Maybe, just maybe one thing that we could look at here would be the players that sort of shoot at the rim, which would be Durant, Booker, and I guess Nurkic for the Suns if we like that. But even still, their lines, not Nurkic's, but Durant and Booker's, they're going to be a little inflated. So maybe no player props in this one. But keep an eye on the final plays on the site. All right, guys, we just crossed the 20-minute mark of the video. If you are still watching and enjoying, make sure to comment 20 and let me know which NBA player sticks out to you when you think of number 20. There's been tons of good ones, but growing up as a Celtics fan and living through that, next generation of the big three with Paul, KG, and Ray Allen, and we're about to talk about the Celtics game, I think I have to go Ray Allen when I think of 20, but there are so many good 20s. So let me know in the comments. First off, commenting 20, that lets me know that you've made it this far in the video, which I do truly appreciate, especially with the situation we got going on the new channel and whatnot. But with that same comment, let me know who you think of when you think of 20. I always am interested to see what people come up with because, like football-wise, I think probably Barry said, like, it's basketball. Who do you think of in terms of basketball? Because I'm always interested to see if someone pulls something out of the clouds that's like, that's a damn good one. But let's go ahead and move on with the slate. Comment 20 if you made it this far in the video. I appreciate it. All right, Boston taking on Brooklyn here. Boston at home, 13.5-point favorites. Boston hasn't played too many home games this year. It's weird. They're 2-1 at home, but they've played 9 games. So they've played 6 road games already. In terms of this matchup, Boston has dominated. They've won 9 of the last 10. That being said, I will say, this is a big number. Like some of the numbers we've seen have been double digits, but this is the biggest number that we've seen since 2022, so a couple years. Does that matter all that much? I'm not exactly all that sold on it. One thing I will say is that Brooklyn hasn't played in like 4 days. I think November 4th was their last game, so maybe they're rested, rearing and ready to go. To me, still doesn't necessarily matter. Still no Bogdanovich, Watford, Sharp, so I'm not really afraid of their team, which you could make the argument that, well, no Jaylen Brown, no Kristaps still, now Luke Cornett's out. Like, this could be a difficult spot for the Celts, but we've seen guys like, obviously Tatum, but even Derek, like, these guys are stepping up, and 13.5 points seems like it's a big number. Probably keeps me away from it, but there's really no easy path for me to get to the Nets. So I'm going to lean Celtics. One thing I will say is that the Nets probably end up scoring more point paints than the Celtics, but I don't know if that's due to skill or scheme. I think it's more scheme. Like, I think the Celtics obviously just huck threes, but they're good at it, so why shoot a lot of in the paint type shots? That's my theory, obviously. In terms of the total, it's at 224. I could see an over here if the Celtics catch fire and Brooklyn, tries to kind of keep up pace and whatnot. I don't see a reason in which they wouldn't be able to score. Like, this is a Brooklyn team that's still ranked 13th in terms of offensive efficiency, so it's not like they're a terrible offense. They're just not as good as the Celtics, so 224 seems just a little bit too low for me. And then no player props that I'm liking in this one. I know people are going to be like, I thought I want player props in every game. I'm not going to fake confidence for content like I tell you guys all the time, and if I can't find anything, I can't find anything. It just kind of is what it is, you know what I mean? So I guess hopefully that makes a lot of sense. All right, OKC taking on Houston, and I'll get right out of it. Sounding the psycho alert alarm. I see a path to Houston plus 8.5 today. Now, are they the better team? Do I expect them to win? No. OKC's the better team, and I expect OKC to bounce back after a loss, right? But overall, this is a good defensive team in Houston. Top 5 defensive efficiency, top 3 in terms of points per game. They're not as good defensively as OKC. OKC the best in the game right now, but points in the paint allowed is obviously going to be massive for Houston. OKC likes to get to the hoop. They're also good in the perimeter. Like, this is just a good defensive team, and if you have 2 good defensive teams clashing, plus a 219 total, like, I think I'll sit there and be like, Give me the 8.5. Again, do I think OKC is a better team? Yes. Do I think that they win this game? Probably. But 8.5 is 8.5, so I do think that's a big number. I'm going to lean towards the Rockets in this spot. I can see why someone might like them off of a loss to Denver and then just coming out and stomping a team that's kind of middling of the pack right now, right? They are a 7-1 team. I get it, and Houston's 5-3. But overall, give me Houston plus the points. I think that's sort of the shot profile of both teams. Not favors Houston, but just puts them neck and neck. In terms of a total, I still don't know. I think, like, obviously 219 is low, and I'm hoping for defense here, but that is super, super low, especially given, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's in this game. So think about it. They just had a 120 to 120 whatever game against Denver, which is a slow team, so I probably maybe lean towards the over still, but to me, I just think that Houston keeps this one somewhat close. From a player prop perspective, and it's plus money right now, plus 126, give me Shai Gilgeous-Alexander here. Over 1.5 3-pointers made. He's only done it in one of his last 4 games. When you look at head-to-head, he's done it in 2 straight against Houston. He had 4 last time they played and 2 the previous time. And if we look at our dashboard here, which, guys, to get access to this, just become a channel member. Link in the description. There should also be a join button here on the channel pretty damn soon once we can monetize. Obviously, it's a new channel, so it's coming, I guess I should say, instead of teasing how to get it. But overall, looking at this, right? Houston, you can see how good they are defensively everywhere, but okay, well, where do they struggle? Okay, above the break, they're allowing a 38.3% field goal percentage. So I think that Shai, who leads the team in field goal attempts from above the break 3, maybe for plus 126 could knock down 2 today. So that's a player prop that I'm definitely strongly considering. All right, Memphis taking on Washington. I look at this one, I'm like, oh my God, easy Memphis spot, right? Wrong. If you look at your eyes will get tired looking at Memphis's injury report. We'll start with the important ones. Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, and Marcus Smart still out. Then you have Conchard, Gigi Jackson, Spencer, and Williams. Actually, Conchard's game time decision, but like that matters, right? But all those guys out as well, like, geez. So obviously this is not the best of spots, but then you flip it over to Washington. Sadiq Bey, Brogdon, Kuzma all out. This is just a messy game. I don't think there's going to be much defense in this one, but I still kind of think, okay, well, where are the points going to come from? So I think I just look at an under. Do I love it? No. Do I feel like I'm going to look at it myself and possibly roll with it? Probably not. But again, I looked at it and I was like, all right, well, this is probably a Memphis spot, but I just don't see it. You know what I mean? I think this is probably honestly ends up being a Wizard spot, but I think that would be crazy to roll with. But I do like an under 230. And then from a player prop perspective, moving right along. Nothing's irking me in this one. Maybe Jordan Poole, because he'll probably take a million shots tonight. But again, I don't think many points are going to be scored. So let's move on. Next up, we have Denver taking on Miami. Jamal Murray, game time decision. No Aaron Gordon here. Nothing major on the Miami side of things. Things we've still seen. Jaime Jaquez, game time decision. Kevin Love out. This is a Denver team that finally, I guess you could say, is starting to get things going. 3 wins in a row, none of which were impressive until they did beat OKC. And they're still at home here. That was a home game as well. So this is probably a team that's starting to get going. And Miami, though I think that they kind of grinded out defensively, still not a great team right now, and I'm not sold on them. So give me Denver in this spot, but honestly, what I probably end up looking at, and I think is going to be a sneaky nice little play for a long time, as well as, while Miami struggles offensively, but still is a good defensive team, is either considering the under or their opponent's team total under. And that's what I'm going to do today. Denver under 115.5 seems like it's a good spot. Now they've hit this over in 4 straight games. So that worries me a little bit, but Minnesota, Utah, Toronto, OKC's really good, a really good defense, but Denver obviously played very efficient in that one, right? I think Denver shot like almost 50% from the field and over 42% from 3, so maybe they were playing a little bit better, but I could see them. This is obviously a rematch from a few years ago of the finals, but I could see them scoring right around like that 110 mark and being just shy of this. So I think Miami makes it tough for them. Denver's going to want to shoot a lot at the rim. Miami's been pretty damn good against points in the paint so far this year and at the rim, allowing just a 61.9% field goal percentage against on the restricted area. In the paint, so you get more towards the foul line, they struggle a little bit, which Jokic can obviously kind of do well on. But again, I think that that's a pretty high number. 115.5 for a Denver team that is actually the 8th fastest paced team in the league, but we know that they don't like to play that fast, right? They just have played fast. So I think this is the type of game that's all right, let's slow it down and just pick apart this Miami team, which they may score 112 and that type of thing and win this game by 4+. but I don't necessarily think that they have the best time offensively. And then as well as last game, I really am struggling to find player props in this one. Even if we really wanted to dig, the only one that I could think of is because, and this is how nitpicky it is. So just so you know that I'm being honest, right? Denver struggles against the right corner three. Maybe a Terry Rozier points or Terry Rozier 3-point prop is what we'd like, because he shoots the most corner threes on the Miami Heat. But think about how nitpicky that is. Do I think it's a good spot? Yes, but I mean, we're talking, now we're getting into right corner threes, not even corner threes overall, right? And he would need to hit 2 of them for -160, but it's crazy. Now that I talk about it more and more, I'm like, oh, maybe that is a good look. You know what I mean? He's done it in 80% of his games this season, head-to-head here. He's 0 for 2, so obviously that's something, but he shot 8. Okay, maybe we actually do roll with that. Maybe I'm an idiot and loser for thinking that it was not valuable, but I do think that Terry Rozier could hit 2 threes tonight. He's averaging 7.1 attempts per game, so screw it. Maybe we might roll with that. We've definitely done crazier before. All right, Minnesota taking on Portland. Both these teams played last night. Portland losing to San Antonio, Minnesota beating Chicago. We had Vucevic in that game as well as the same game parlay, so nice little spot for us. 12.5 points is a lot, right? We see 12 in the graphic. It's 12.5 on plenty of spots here. I don't love that, but that tells me there could be some potential of a blowout, perhaps. Both teams on a back-to-back. So I start to look at some player prop unders, and Anthony Simons under 3.5 3-pointers made could be a good look. This is a Minnesota team that's allowing the fewest points from the 3-point line this season. Obviously, Anthony Simons going to take a lot of threes there. In fact, I think he averages 9 per. He's by far and away the guy that shoots the threes for this Portland team. So maybe that's a look, but at the same time, he's the only guy there that's just going to huck, right? So that's the downfall. In terms of a side in total here, I guess I would lean towards the under back-to-back. I think that if this team gets up Minnesota, they might try to slow things down and just kind of play at their own pace. And both these teams bottom 10 in terms of pace so far this year. That being said, Minnesota so far in back-to-backs here, I think they only had I don't exactly know how many, but they haven't covered and they've hit overs. So sure, you can take this with a grain of salt. What I will say is Minnesota's been good, defensively, just overall not so much in the paint, and Portland loves to shoot in the paint. So if you are on Portland trying to get that big number, that's probably your argument. But still, for me, it's Minnesota as well as an under, and then Anthony Simons under in threes is something that I'm considering as well. Keep an eye on the final plays over on the site. Sacramento taking on the LA Clippers here. This is interesting because Sacramento has, taken 2 dubs in a row. They've won 5 of their last 6. The Clippers kind of struggling, but they've now won 2 straight, but they played San Antonio and Philadelphia. I don't know how much credit we want to give them there, but in reality, this is, both 2 teams are fairly good defensively, right? But LA has been the better defensive team. It's going to be narrow because both teams are similar here, but they should win the rebounding rate. I think that they should by far and away dominate the, defensive and offensive in the paint. And then even from 3, the perimeter, they should be better. So I guess I'll take those 6 in my back pocket with LA, right? I think that this is a really good Sacramento team, and we've been kind of good at predicting when and where to look at Sacramento. I don't think this is one of those spots. 6 just seems like it's too much. 6.5 I'm seeing on some other spots. So yeah, Clippers all the way in this one. Total sitting at 224. Slight lean towards the over. There's too much offensive power on Sacramento for me to really just truly think that they turtle. The Clippers are going to play slow. I totally understand that, but even still, they've been 50-50 to the total this year. And we know the Clippers can put up 113, 110, they can do that as well given their team. Do they have, like I said, the star power? Not so much, but James Harden, Powell, these guys can perform fairly well. So yeah, I'll take a peek at the Clippers as well as I guess an over, but the total I don't like as much, but I'm definitely considering that Clippers spot there for sure. I think that they could keep this one close, and having that many points in your back pocket in a close game late in the game seems like it could be the move. All right, Lakers taking on the Sixers. This is really, I don't think I get to this one myself, but I don't really know how anyone can make the argument for the Sixers right now. They just seem like they're in disarray. They got a lot going on. Obviously, you have Paul George now playing, but the Joel Embiid drama. Now Tyrese Maxey's out for a few weeks. Lakers all day in this spot here. I think I've seen some 7.5s as well. That total's at 222. I don't think that the Sixers are as bad as they are offensively that they showed against the Clippers last game, and the Lakers aren't as good defensively as the Clippers are. So I'll lean slightly towards the over. In terms of player props here, I'm looking to add some in this game because I do think that we could see an up-tempo game, even though the Sixers haven't played that fast, but the Lakers do. But nothing's jumping out to me as of right now. So keep an eye on the Guy Boston Sports site on the post. It'll be as a blog post. I'll put it in the pinned comment just to see if we do roll with anything here. But as of right now, I just like the over in the Lakers, and I'm almost looking for a player prop, but because I feel like there's opportunity, but I can't seem to find one. So just kind of keeping you guys updated there. But that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. Hit that like button if you did, and subscribe. The fact that we're over 3,000 subscribers on the new channel is great. I'm going to keep you guys posted, obviously, as to where the new channel stands and whatnot. And I'll just keep you guys posted there. It's a weird time and weird situation. We'll get the channel back, but in terms of like how it's going to be navigated and whatnot is confusing right now. So I'll keep you guys posted, mostly over on X. So make sure you follow me there at FGuyBoston. But that's all I have for you in today's video. Everyone have a great Friday. I'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.